So our next speaker is Boris Franklin. He is a first-year student at Rutgers as well, and just a superb academic performance in the fall. Dazzling. Boris, I turn over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rowland. I better take care while we're here first, because I'll forget while I'm here. We want to know what I wish for PTI in 10 years. I guess I would have to start with focusing on the aim. But before that, first let me introduce myself to you. I'm Boris Franklin, and I was incarcerated in East Jersey State Prison. I just did 11 years. Came home approximately about a year ago. And it's been a whirlwind. But my wish for PTI will be to maintain what you're doing, but to focus with an aim. Because there's a lot of us in here who probably have children. I'm judging by everybody who's pretty old. But educate your children. You educate your children with a specific aim. I mean, you're trying to teach them and prepare them for something. So when you go into these places, into these prisons, and you're educated, have a specific aim. You know, I know that you have your curriculum, but if you have an aim in preparing individuals for a world that's actually the world that they're going into, then I think you do a greater service. I just said the service is already great. There's a greater service. And I guess I say this is because when I went to high school, which was a very short high school year, I don't know what their aim was. I don't know what they were preparing me for. In fact, I don't know what any of the schools that I attended were preparing me for. Aside for now that I see what the prison pipeline is that I imagine they were preparing me for prison, for school. So I guess, and when I land there, it's a different space. First, let me tell you, when I went to school in Piscataway, I was dressed almost like this. You know, I had on, my mother wanted me Buster Brown shoes and things like that. She wanted me to look nice and dressed me real smart. So when I landed back in New Brunswick, I stood out like a sore thumb. As soon as I got there, they noticed me immediately. You know, this environment, this education system was set up like a prison from the start. And when I came in, I looked like a sucker. I was the guy who still believed that school was about learning. I believed that I was going to get good grades and the world was going to be shiny and I had an opportunity. And I think this might be around the time that my father took over my education. He was a very practical man. He was my first professor. He said, no, that's not the world for you. You're a black man. You don't get none of that. This is what's for you. So you're gonna have to learn to navigate this small space right here, this urban ghetto. In order to do that, you're gonna have to be tough. So this is the education that I'm getting. The education in school was a collection of dates that I had to recall, rote behavior. And imagine my surprise when I found out that I wasn't even learning. They would give me a date, right? My name is Boris Franklin. I was born in 1972. When was Boris Franklin born? 1972. That's not learning, that's remembering. So they were preparing me, if there were a factory, to work at a factory so that I could remember to take orders. But being that the factory's not there, what do you prepare me for? You prepare me for prison. If you don't believe it's true, then you haven't seen school systems. They have the metal detectors. They have the guards in the hall. There was a young lady at Rutgers, I guess, I don't know what community she comes from, apparently not in Brunswick, because she didn't even understand why the gates were around her. The school, in the yards. It's like the prison yard. It's a bunch of gates. So you're actually being confined from the beginning. You're being socialized for prison. Prison was not a culture shock for a lot of individuals because these are the conditions that we were used to. We were already used to seeing anything coming. Even with the academics. I didn't have anything coming. The statistical data proves it. I'm not going to go into data. It's not a point, and he covered a lot of that brilliantly. So I don't have to address it. But the fact of the matter was, I knew that none of that was for me. And he was absolutely right. You're attempting to break the backs of white supremacy when you go into these prisons and you teach. It makes sense. I mean, I'm learning so many things while I'm in college that are kind of disheartening. Because I'm saying that people knew this. When you read B.F. Skinner for the first time, and everybody says, he's a wonderful man, and he knows what he's talking about, well, we all agree. He said, you give me control over anybody's environment, and I will turn them into whatever I want them to be. A doctor, a lawyer, a criminal, etc. I grew up in those environments. I'm stereotypically black. What that means is I'm the guy they follow around the store. So my chances are a little bit darker. I don't have to be average. I can't be average. I have to be good. I come from that vein. That same vein of people who always had to compete at a different level. That's the level I compete at, because I have to, just to get a consideration. You understand what I'm saying? So with going in knowing this, and knowing that high school should have a specific aim, I will say some things about the PTI program and college and prisons, even though, of course, my heart is at the beginning. However, they are picking up where some people drop the ball. I would have to say that. Because I have the privilege of being here with two educators, Jill Knapp and Professor Hedges. I mean, Jill came in and insisted we called her Jill. That was great. I mean, the first thing she did was she gave us our humanity back, and so did Professor Hedges. So that's her aim. When you come in and say, and everyone should have their aim. That's what you travel through, the individuals who are going to come in and teach. You have to understand, we're going to do something. First thing we're going to do is we're going to come in, and first thing they do, before I teach you, I'm going to give you your humanity back. I'm going to show you some respect. You know, we're going to close the classroom, we're going to keep the guards out, and you're going to be a student in here. And I was appreciative for that. But another thing that that environment suffers from is arrested development. So when you don't go to high school, see, high school gets young people to young adulthood by challenging them. There's an industry. You keep doing things. There's a lot of activities in high school so you can find out not only who you are, like the woman was talking about, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your potentials are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. So imagine not having high school. You miss that portion. High school is necessary for development, for personality development, so that you won't get like Walter Brother gets overwhelmed. See, the thing is that when you run the drill of doing finals and getting overwhelmed, you learn to manage this level of emotions. And that's what high school does, but I didn't get none of this in high school. I got all of this in prison, by going to school in prison. So when you come in and you're doing that, when you see the transformative, behavior in individuals, what you're actually witnessing is you're seeing them grow up in semesters. When you come back and you look at the guy, you're like, he has grown up. From the moment he walks into the classroom, when you first meet him, he's much more of a boy. And we all know what the history of this country is that people have actively worked to keep people of color in the state of boyhood. You're working against that. You're changing them. You're getting into a state of adulthood. And I say that to say this is because poverty has been a long-standing human issue. But it's not an insurmountable task. However, it cannot be heard by children. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be an adult to tackle this. So the job is to get the individual to adulthood. And school is one of the institutions that were established in order to do this. This is where your moral compass comes in, for those who are talking about the morality of education. This is where your negotiation skills come in. When people get overwhelmed, like you ever see children get overwhelmed, and they have no more words to argue their point, they get frustrated. They might start throwing things and fighting. You know. Now at that level of frustration, when it is small, it's correctable. At this level, it's criminal. This is why adulthood is paramount. This is what you're doing. You're bringing an individual from here to here. And the tool you're using is education. Time with yourself. So unconscious has grown up. You will reprimand yourself. You will correct yourself, or you will torture yourself. That is the reality of being an adult. This program is raising adults. That is why it's necessary. It taught me to be responsible. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me.